Growing up, I heard a lot of things about how women should behave. Be nice, smile more, don't be too loud, don't ask for too much, don't stir the pot. And then one day I came across this quote, "Never complain, never explain." It hit me. Not because it was about being silent, but because it was about owning your power without constantly seeking permission or approval. There's something powerful about realizing that you don't owe the world an explanation for who you are. That realization doesn't come overnight. It's a process, a journey, one filled with both quiet moments of self-reflection and loud battles against the expectations placed on you. When I think back to where I started, I wasn't always this sure of myself. I was thrown into rooms where I felt like I didn't belong. I questioned whether I was enough, whether I looked the part, whether I sounded smart enough, whether I even had the right to dream big. I know I'm not alone in that feeling. Many of us carry that doubt, especially when the world around us has been shaped by voices telling us we need to fit a mold, tone ourselves down, or make ourselves smaller so that others can feel comfortable. But let me say this clearly, you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be powerful, bold, and loud about what you want. And most importantly, you are allowed to want more. More out of your life, more out of your career, more out of your relationships, and more from the world. We're taught early on, especially as women, and especially in environments where tradition and conformity are deeply rooted, that being agreeable, being likable, and being quiet is the safe path, that making others comfortable is more important than being authentic. But here's the truth. Playing small doesn't serve you, and it certainly doesn't serve the world. You can be kind without being a doormat. You can be graceful without being silent. And you can be unapologetically ambitious without being labeled arrogant. I've learned that owning your power doesn't mean you walk into every room and try to prove something. It means you walk into every room knowing you don't have to. That's a subtle but life-changing shift. It's about walking with the kind of energy that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I don't need to shrink to make others feel better. Now, owning your power also means embracing the parts of yourself that you were once told to hide. For me, that's been everything from the color of my skin to the sound of my accent. It's been about claiming my identity in spaces where I was told I didn't fit. And that's not just a challenge for people in entertainment or leadership roles. It's something people face in boardrooms, classrooms, social circles, and even in their own families. You see, when you start showing up as your full self, you might lose people. You might face criticism, you might make people uncomfortable, but what's worse than all of that, losing yourself just to keep the peace. The people who matter will rise to meet your truth. The people who don't, they were never meant to walk your journey with you in the first place. Owning your power also means recognizing that you have every right to define success on your own terms. Maybe for you, it's climbing the corporate ladder. Maybe it's starting your own business. Maybe it's raising a family, writing a book, healing from trauma, or advocating for change. Whatever it is, claim it, define it, live it, and do it without feeling like you owe anyone a justification for why it matters to you. One of the hardest things about this mindset is unlearning the habit of constantly explaining yourself. We do it out of politeness, out of fear, out of habit. We explain why we didn't attend that event, why we said no, why we want something different, why we changed our mind. But here's what I've realized. Every time you over-explain, you give a little piece of your power away. You say, here, let me make this palatable for you. Let me soften myself so you'll approve. And you know what? You don't need to. You don't need to filter your truth. You don't need to dress it up or cut it down. When you stop apologizing for your existence, the world around you begins to adjust. People start to treat you the way you treat yourself. And the moment you begin valuing your time, your boundaries, your energy, your talent, that's the moment other people start doing the same. It's not always going to be easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps back in. When old voices whisper in your ear and tell you you're asking for too much, that you're being too much, in those moments, remember this: your strength is not a liability. Your voice is not a threat. And your light is not up for negotiation. Let's be clear, this isn't about arrogance. It's not about believing you're better than anyone else. It's about honoring yourself enough to know that you don't need to constantly explain or justify your worth. You're not being difficult when you say what you want. You're not being dramatic when you speak your truth. You're not being selfish when you protect your peace. You're just being whole, and when you show up as a whole person, you give other people permission to do the same. You shift the energy in every room you enter. You inspire people not by being perfect, but by being real. You know, I've stood on stages in front of thousands. I've also sat alone in rooms wondering if I was doing enough. The truth is, power doesn't come from how loud your applause is. It comes from how grounded you are in your own voice, how willing you are to back yourself, even when no one else does. There's a kind of freedom that comes when you stop tailoring yourself to meet everyone else's expectations. When you let go of needing to be liked by everyone, you start living life on your own terms, and you start attracting the kind of energy that matches your truth. So let this be your reminder, you don't have to wait for permission to be powerful. You already are. You don't have to seek validation for your dreams. They're already valid. And you don't have to dim your light to make anyone else feel more comfortable. Shine anyway. This world needs more people who are unapologetically themselves. Who live boldly, love deeply, dream fearlessly, and rise, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. If there's one thing I hope you carry from this, it's that your power doesn't lie in perfection. It lies in presence, in owning your story, your voice, your choices, and doing it all without apology. So don't wait for the world to tell you you're ready. Don't wait for a title, a nod, a trophy, or a green light. Step into who you are, own your power, not tomorrow, not someday, but now, today. Noise is everywhere. It's in the criticism, the unsolicited opinions, the gossip, the judgment, the pressure to be something you're not. You wake up to it, you walk through it, and if you let it, it wraps itself around you until you start believing the noise is the truth. That's where so many dreams die, not because someone lacked talent or heart, but because they started listening to the noise and forgot how to listen to themselves. But here's the thing, the world is always going to have something to say. If you're doing too much, they'll say you're overreaching. If you're quiet, they'll call you irrelevant. If you succeed, they'll question how you got there. And if you fail, they'll pretend they knew it all along. You cannot win if your focus is on pleasing the crowd. That's not where power lives. That's not where growth happens. Real transformation, real impact that comes when you shut out the noise and get to work. It's easy to get stuck in the cycle of overthinking, over-explaining, defending, reacting. But that energy could be doing so much more. Every minute you spend explaining why you deserve a seat at the table is a minute you could be using to build your own table. Every ounce of energy spent trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding you is energy stolen from your purpose. You have to protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. There's a quiet strength in doing the work and letting the results speak for you. There's a certain power in keeping your head down, staying focused, and building what you know you're capable of building, not for validation, not for praise, but because you believe in it, because you believe in yourself. The truth is, action has a frequency that silence never will. You could post quotes, talk about ambition, go on and on about your goals, or you could just put your head down and make it happen. When you start showing up for yourself in real, consistent, sometimes uncomfortable ways, your life begins to shift. People begin to notice, not because you told them, but because your growth becomes undeniable. When I was navigating new spaces, different industries, different countries, different cultures, I had to learn quickly where to invest my energy. I could have spent hours trying to correct every false rumor, answer every critique, or prove every point. But I realized something powerful. Silence is often stronger than rebuttal, because silence, when used correctly, doesn't mean weakness. It means you're choosing your battles, you're reserving your voice for things that actually matter. You're saying, I don't need to win the argument, because I'm too busy winning in real life. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every jab. You're not responsible for educating people who aren't willing to listen. That's not your job. Your job is to stay aligned with your vision, to do the work, to keep showing up, especially when it's hard, especially when no one is clapping, especially when no one is watching. We live in a world where we're taught to react constantly. Social media thrives on hot takes, on who clapped back, on who said what. But real power isn't reactive, it's proactive, it's strategic. It's about knowing when to speak and when to move in silence. It's about putting your time where it actually counts in the building, not in the shouting. When you truly understand your purpose, you become unshakable. People can talk, they can doubt, they can misunderstand, but it doesn't matter, because you've got your eyes on something bigger. You stop chasing approval and start chasing growth. You stop needing applause and start requiring progress. And yes, there will be moments when it's tempting to complain, when it feels like you're doing everything right and still not being seen. When it feels unfair, when you're exhausted, frustrated, and overwhelmed. In those moments, I'm not saying don't feel it all. Honor your emotions, but don't stay there. Don't get stuck in the story. Don't let the complaint become your identity, because the longer you live in that space, the harder it becomes to rise out of it. Complaining can feel good in the moment it creates connection. It lets the pressure out. But it rarely changes anything. What changes things is clarity, consistency, and courage. Complaining says, this isn't fair. Action says, I'm going to change it anyway. Complaining says, why me? Action says, watch me. There were so many moments in my career when I could have stopped. When I could have looked at the odds, the obstacles, the opinions and said, this isn't worth it. But I kept going because the work mattered to me, not the image, not the perception, the work. And because I stayed focused on that, the noise became background music. It didn't disappear, but it lost its power. People will always try to define you by their limited understanding. Don't let that stop you. Keep building, keep learning, keep evolving. Let them underestimate you. It makes the rise even sweeter. Every moment you choose to take the high road, to take action instead of taking the bait, you grow. You become stronger, more resilient, more clear in your purpose. Let's talk about purpose for a moment, because that's really what centers everything. When you're anchored in purpose, you become less reactive. You don't need to swing at every pitch because you know what game you're playing. You're not out here trying to win short-term battles, you're focused on long-term legacy. That clarity allows you to filter out the distractions and hone in on what actually matters. So much of the world is built on noise, but the ones who truly change the game, they operate differently. They lead with action. They're not the loudest in the room, they're the most intentional. They're not obsessed with optics, they're obsessed with outcomes. They don't just talk about potential, they deliver results. That's the energy to carry. Not performative, not reactive, but grounded, quietly powerful, focused on the process, trusting that the right people will notice when the time is right, and even if they don't, you still win because you showed up for yourself. We have to stop thinking that every achievement needs to be announced, that every step forward needs a post, that every success requires external validation. Some of your best moves will happen in silence. Some of your biggest wins will be things only you truly understand the depth of, and that's okay. Not everything sacred needs to be shared. You don't need a round of applause to be doing important work. Some of the most meaningful progress happens when no one is watching, when you're putting in the hours, the sweat, the late nights, the quiet breakthroughs. That's where the real transformation happens, in the quiet. In the action, and here's the truth no one likes to say out loud, not everyone is going to clap for you, not everyone is going to understand your path, but it's not their path, it's yours. And if you spend all your time explaining, defending, and performing, you miss out on living it. So choose wisely, choose your peace over proving a point, choose your work over winning an argument, choose your purpose over their perception, let your results speak for you, let your consistency build your reputation. Let your success be your statement, because at the end of the day, words are easy, talking is cheap, but action, that's where the real power is. That's where your legacy is built. Stay focused, stay grounded. Let the noise fade into the background and keep building the life that no one can deny, not because you explained it, but because you lived it. There's something deeply powerful about being underestimated. It can feel frustrating in the moment, people questioning your capabilities, doubting your ideas, dismissing your presence. But if you learn how to channel that energy, it becomes fuel, because the most effective response to doubt isn't loud. It's not defensive. It's not about explaining yourself over and over again. It's about showing up, doing the work, and letting your success become the answer. In a world obsessed with appearances, with quick validation, with the need to constantly be seen, there's a quiet rebellion in simply focusing on your path and letting your growth do the talking. Not everything requires a statement. Not every challenge demands a reaction. And not every win needs to be broadcasted. Sometimes the loudest thing you can say is nothing at all and just keep rising. When you think about the people who truly leave a mark, the ones who build something real, who evolve through adversity, who command respect, you'll notice they're not always the ones shouting from the rooftops. They're the ones doing the work. They're building in silence, staying aligned with their vision, and letting time, consistency, and results make the noise for them. You don't need to prove anything to people who have already made up their minds about you. That's a game you'll never win. The more you chase their approval, the more power you give away. Instead, make your work undeniable. Make your presence so rooted, your efforts so consistent, that even your silence feels like a statement. That's how you win. Letting success speak for you doesn't mean staying quiet when it matters. It means choosing your moments wisely. It means knowing when to respond and when to walk away. It means keeping your eyes on the bigger picture and not letting temporary noise distract you from long-term vision, because that's what real confidence looks like. It's calm, not performative. It's rooted, not reactive. There have been times in my own journey when I wanted to respond to everything, to every rumor, every misunderstanding, every backhanded compliment. But I realized quickly, defending yourself constantly becomes exhausting. And after a while, it stops being about truth and starts being about ego. I had to learn to ask myself, what do I want more, to be right in this moment or to be successful in the long run? You begin to realize that peace is more valuable than being understood by everyone. Not everyone needs to get you. Not everyone is meant to walk your path or applaud your growth, and that's okay. Your story isn't for everyone, it's for you. And when you own that, something shifts. You stop performing. You stop justifying. You start living with intention. Letting your success speak doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means knowing the difference between being transparent and being performative. You can share your truth without trying to convince people. You can live your life without curating it for approval. And you can trust that the people who are meant to understand you, the people who truly see you, won't need a presentation. They'll feel it in your energy, in your work, in your evolution. You don't have to win every argument to win in life. You just need to stay consistent. You need to keep growing, keep evolving, keep showing up for yourself. That's the most powerful thing you can do to keep moving forward, even when no one's watching, even when people are doubting you, especially when people are doubting you. Because let's be real, anyone can talk a good game. Anyone can post about their ambition. Anyone can pretend they're winning, but actual success, that's not something you can fake. It's felt, it's earned, it's built day by day, choice by choice, with grit, with resilience, with integrity. You don't need to announce every move. Some of the most beautiful parts of your journey will happen in silence, in the early mornings when no one sees you working, in the sacrifices no one claps for, in the private growth that isn't shared online. That's where the magic is. That's where transformation begins. And here's something important: success is not just about titles or trophies or applause. It's about fulfillment. It's about alignment. It's about knowing that you are showing up as the best version of yourself, not for them, but for you. That kind of success, it can't be taken away by opinions. It doesn't depend on likes or followers. It's yours, fully, completely. There's strength in restraint. There's power in choosing not to react. Sometimes silence is the most eloquent response you can give. It says, I don't need to fight this, I'm too busy building. And over time, people notice. The same ones who doubted you begin to see what you were working on all along. The same ones who laughed at your dreams start asking how you did it. But by then, you're not even looking for their validation anymore. You're not trying to prove anything because you already proved it to yourself. That's the shift. That's the win. When you stop trying to convince the world of your worth and start living like you believe in it, everything changes. Letting success speak for you also means being patient. Growth takes time. Building something real takes time. There are no shortcuts that are worth the cost of your integrity. You'll be tempted to prove a point, to rush the process, to post the highlight reel instead of doing the actual work. But don't fall into that trap. Be so focused on what you're creating that you don't have time to worry about what everyone else thinks. The more you align with your purpose, the less you crave attention. The more rooted you are in your vision, the less noise can distract you. That's not arrogance, that's clarity. That's knowing what matters and knowing who you are beyond the applause. You'll know you're evolving when you no longer feel the need to defend your growth. When you no longer chase the spotlight, but it finds you anyway because your work, your energy, your presence are undeniable. That's when success starts speaking for you, and that voice, it's louder than any critic. It's stronger than any rumor. It's more permanent than any moment of doubt. You don't need to broadcast every step. Let your progress build in the background. Let your breakthroughs mature in silence. Let your next chapter arrive not with a loud announcement, but with undeniable evidence that you've grown, that you've elevated, that you've done the work not to be seen, but to become. Success doesn't always come with a cheer. Sometimes it arrives in a quiet room, in the peace you feel when you know you're on the right path, in the freedom of knowing you don't need to prove yourself anymore, in the power of living fully and fearlessly without asking for permission. There will be moments when people doubt your capacity. Let them talk. Let them speculate. But you stay grounded. You stay consistent. Because when the time comes, and it will come, your success will speak volumes. It will tell your story louder and clearer than your words ever could. And when it does, you won't need to explain how you got there. You'll just smile. Because you'll know the work, the sacrifices, the nights no one saw, the risks you took, the battles you fought in silence, they were all worth it. Every single one. Let that be your focus, not the noise. Not the reaction, not the pressure to explain yourself to everyone. Just the work, just the process, just the growth, and let the life you build speak for itself. Let it speak loud, let it speak clear. And when it does, you won't have to say a word.